Recovery for me is a place where the the goal is to be content. I'm not striving for happiness, and distress doesn't cause me pain anymore. And in that, I can find beauty, I can see joy, I can feel joy. I grew up in like a small one stoplight type of town. And when I was 11, um, I had my first suicidal ideation, and my parents had kind of conditioned me to call 911 if I felt my life was in danger. So I did. And this is not something I would do now. There's a lot of county crisis lines that are much better suited for this type of thing. But I called 911. I told them what was going on, and like a police officer talked to me, and then I was put in an ambulance, and then I went to the hospital, which felt like a 12-hour stay at just an ER. And then they tried to find a hospital bed for an 11-year-old, and the closest one was over 2 hours away. And that kind of just started my journey of mental health stuff and struggles. From a very early age, I was heavily treated, and that is a privilege, but it also ended up kind of being my downfall at points because I wasn't able to I wasn't able to have a normal childhood first. And then the other side of that was I had difficulty kind of coping with it myself without others. So I've lost count of how many hospitalizations I had in my youth. I hit most of the youth hospitals in the state. We were trying really hard to figure out what was going on. I was put on a lot of medications, and then at 13, because of side effects of those medications and lifestyle choices, I was obese. So that didn't help anything. Because then I also developed like a hormonal imbalance, and I developed chronic pain in the form of fibromyalgia, and I had ovarian cysts, and so we were kind of trying to combat the pain I was always under and the anxiety. So after 3 months at the residential treatment center, I got out of that, switched schools. I switched schools a lot. I don't even know how many. Like, I just kind of hit everyone I could around the rural area. I often use kind of an analogy of trains. So I was at 18, I was diagnosed with bipolar type 2. And so that helped kind of give me a little bit more of a landscape to work with. So the generalized anxiety disorder kind of fills my train tracks up with a lot of trains. And then if I'm in a hypomanic, they go really, really fast, and I grab onto one and hold onto it tight, and then I can stay up for like the entire night, or I can do some really risky behaviors, impulsivity, like all of that is when it's going really fast. If I'm in a depressed episode, everything's gloomy, so all the trains are still there. It's just dark. It's heavy. It doesn't feel worthwhile. It feels like I'm drowning. It takes a lot of self-care, and that takes a lot of time. And for me, I don't always prioritize it. Like, quite often I don't. I have people, and especially in recovery, I have people being like, have you taken time for yourself? You just graduated. What are you doing to celebrate? It's like, well, I have other projects. I'm going to work on them. And so taking a step back from other responsibilities and other like goals, it's important for me to recognize that I'm still living with this. These thoughts and habits aren't gone. I just can deal with them better, and making sure that I am like journaling or practicing mindfulness, breathing. That's a big one because I don't breathe that often. Like, I hold my breath, or I talk really fast, or I hold the tension in my body, and then I have a pain flare, and then I shame myself for the pain flare, or I push myself so that I can prove to I guess I'm proving it to myself for no good reason, but I'm proving to myself that, like, I am in recovery. I can do this. Social support, that's the big thing. That's why I'm still here is social support. My family was like they were helpful, and they were they tried their very best to keep giving me resources that they would find for me to try. A big thing that I've found helpful is going to and facilitating groups, mental health groups. I do one for NAMI. Telling my story is helpful because it kind of validates it. Like, I am in recovery, it's real. Um, some things that aren't really helpful, I overplan, which is a form of numbing for me because like I get the control. Um, but I will find myself instead of doing a task, I'll procrastinate. And sometimes I'll be like, I'm actively procrastinating. I'm doing this when I should be doing that. Um, and that's hard for the anxiety specifically because it gets loud. I'll push myself too hard. Like, I'll try to make a bunch of plans because I am a very social person, and then something will happen, or I'll get like really sad and heavy, and then I'll cancel it, and then that'll send me into a shame spiral. Um, yeah, food and exercise help. Going to group helps. Um, hobbies, taking time to do like fun things. I do believe it's getting better. It's definitely something you have to think about before sharing. I've told my story as a diversity training to a law firm that I want to work for one day. Um, that being said, it's scary. It is scary to talk about. I have gotten shut down about it or like just invalidated. Um, I've had people, like, I'll tell them my reasons. They've called them excuses. I've been broken up with because like I'm too much. I had a lot of people call me a hot mess in my early 20s. I had a friend who like posted on my Facebook wall like happy birthday to the Harley Quinn in my life, and I was like, that might be a questionable thing. Just so it is hard. Even another side of that is most of my friends have mental illnesses. Like, the people I'm really close to also have them, and they get it. Like, 1 in 4 people will go through a mental illness in their lives, and but 1 in 22, I think, is the current statistic, will go through a serious mental illness. So I can reach out and be like, I'm going through a kind of an irrational anxiety about this. Can you help? And most of the time the answer is yes. Recovery for me is a place where the the goal is to be content. I'm not striving for happiness, and distress doesn't cause me pain anymore. And in that, I can find beauty, I can see joy, I can feel joy, and because of that, recovery is beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I got into law school on a scholarship. I'm able to celebrate my victories a little bit more than I used to. I still undermine myself sometimes. I know, like, I do notice that pattern. Um, but recovery is possible in ways that aren't predictable. And everybody's recovery is beautiful and different. And even if I end up relapsing, I have the tools to get back to recovery because with a plan and practice, almost anything's possible.